Hello and welcome to Modalities webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is the third in the series of webinars that we've done this year. Today we're going to be looking at extending the value beyond just instant message and presence with Skype for Business. We've framed all of our webinar series around the journey to UC and collaboration. In terms of what we mean by the journey, it's very much understanding at the very beginning, building a business case, understanding the why through to how to do it, doing it, and then developing it once you have it in place. So today we're looking at those organizations where you have perhaps started with using Lync or Skype for Business, and you're looking to develop the feature set beyond just instant message and presence, or for those of you who are perhaps starting at the very beginning of your journey and are looking to evaluate, should you just go instant message and presence, or should you be looking at the wider feature set? Today, with that insight, we're hoping to just give you a top-level feel, to enough information for you to take away and to get an insight into what those values and those benefits can be for your organization. Nothing more really than to just give you an understanding so that get you thinking, and if you wanted to then follow up further afterwards, then please do so. We'll be taking questions towards the end, so if you'd like to put any questions in, please use the facility on the screen. In order to just frame the discussion a little bit before I hand over to our speaker this afternoon, I just wanted to really pull through what we're seeing in the marketplace. You can have a look at a lot of research and reports into what is driving what used to be unified communications, is more commonly called universal communications these days. But ultimately what it is, it's about improving the collaboration within your organization for users. So how users communicate, how they interact with their other colleagues, with partners, with customers. What is interesting is that over the last 4 or 5 years that we've seen quite a change in what is driving some of these changes in the business. Probably 3, maybe 4 years ago, a lot of the justification for moving towards UC, and particularly Lync, was based on cost-based savings. Now, whilst they're very much still a good part of the business case, we're seeing more and more now that actually the collaborative element, the mobile technologies, the productivity, and all of those kind of new features are actually driving the change and the benefits within the organization, which really does make quite a change for the business itself. What we're also noticing, and this is also coming through in various reports, as we can see from the screenshot in front of you now, is that people are moving just beyond that instant messaging presence, and are more and more now the take up towards using Skype for Business or Lync for voice is very much a commonplace. If you've not already started, people are considering trials. And as you see from this graphic here, there's been quite a step change within the last 12 months in terms of those who are currently deploying and those that are thinking. It's been a real marked shift, which I think really marks the maturity of the software that we have from Microsoft. I'm not going to go through this slide particularly in detail, but I thought it was important to just push up some areas where a lot of customers are finding value and why a lot of customers are doing the extension of Lync and Skype for Business beyond just IM and presence. A lot of these, as you can see on the left-hand side, a lot of the green boxes are cost-based savings. But more and more we're seeing in this middle section and beyond more of what was originally classed as the intangible and softer benefits. So productivity gains, quicker decision making, staff retention, the attraction of millennials actually to within the business, which is quite a key thing for certain sectors, particularly the professional services and the finance sectors. So they're seeing that the use of this technology as being an attraction to those new generation of people coming through. And in fact, once in the business, they are also driving the change. So to move on now to assess, looking at the value beyond IM and presence, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, which is Ian Smith, who's a managing consultant within Modality. Ian is a Microsoft MVP for Skype for Business. He's got many years experience within the sector. both on the client side and within the vendor side, so delivering the solutions. He runs his own Northern UC user group, as well as his frequent blogger on the Northern UC, Twitter, etc. So keep an eye out for what Ian has to say on those forums. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Ian now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, thank you for joining the webinar. As Ian's mentioned, we're going to go over features which are included in Skype for Business and features which are over and above what you would get with instant messaging present. I'm fully aware that this webinar is being run in the final hour of your day, so I'll try and keep to the time frame set and not for us to overrun. As for the webinar, I'm going to talk through some of the key features of Skype for Business for conferencing enterprise voice. It should take around about 30 to 35 minutes to just run through these. If you've got any questions as we go through, please send them on straight away. Ian will collate them and we'll discuss them after the presentation. As for the agenda for today, it's quite a straightforward one, actually. We're going to look in detail at some of the new features around conferencing and enterprise voice. On the agenda, we've got Skype for Business conferencing. We've got broadcast meeting, which is a new element. We're going to also touch on replacing your PBX with enterprise voice on Skype for Business. And then finally, the video interop service. Just before we do jump into the agenda in detail, I'd like to just do a quick overview of some of the other features Microsoft's put into the Skype for Business client. Firstly, you're probably all aware now that there is a new client out there which has got the look and feel of what the kind of the Skype consumer application looks like. Equally, if you're not ready to make that transition onto the new look and feel by client policy, you can still keep that to be looking like the Lync 2013 client. Second up, there is a post-call rate my call feature, and this is where after you've been on a call, you'll get a dialog box pop up where you can select the quality of the call, any echo on the call, the background noise on the call, and you rate these in stars 1 to 5. This information gets added and gets set in the monitoring database as part of the back-end feature set. Also with the new feature, there's quick access call controls. This is when you're on a call and you might need to jump to Excel or Word or another application. What happens is you get a floating palette above that particular application where you've still got the controls for the Skype call you're on right at your fingertips, so you can pause it, mute it, and do other such features. Next up is the new animated emoticons. Microsoft have taken the trouble to make these all animated now, so you get moving hands and dancing ninjas and all sorts. It's a new feature of Skype Business. I don't think it's anything to really write home about, but it's worth mentioning. Also, the biggest thing, I guess, which I'm not going to go into detail with, but again, it's worth mentioning, is the ability to do audio and video calls into the Skype consumer with using the search directory of the Skype for Business client to actually find your friends and family who are on the consumer Skype application. That's a new thing, and I think that's a pretty good improvement to currently what's available in Lync 2013. So moving into the detail of the agenda. Firstly, we're going to have a look at the native conferencing. What do you actually get out of the box of Skype for Business for audio and video and external conferencing capabilities? Next up is a new feature from Microsoft called broadcast meetings. This is something which, even as I mentioned today, is still not available for Skype for Business, but it is in the roadmap and it is going to be available pretty soon. Thirdly, another new feature of Skype for Business, this is the ability to use your desk phone as the audio element of a call, even though the call might have been initiated or the call is initiated from the Skype for Business client. Fourth up, we will have another recap on how you would go about replacing a PBX, maybe a legacy PBX, with Skype for Business using gateways, and also possibly some PBX interop there while you're in a transitional phase. The second from last is a new feature again is the video interop service. Again, this is a key element to Microsoft's strategy around conferencing, both audio and video. And again, we'll go into detail on that. And then finally, it's just some call monitoring. So Microsoft's introduced a new call monitoring feature set, which gives you a lot more than what you currently get out of the CDR records currently available in 2013. So into the first detail element, the native Skype for Business conferencing. As you got with Lync 2013, the Skype for Business conferencing element has got the full feature set as you previously got with Lync 2010 and Lync 2013's UC stack. Full collaboration options are available from the single client as you had before, including the active and passive video stream. So you see everybody available as a multi-party video, as in the Brady Bunch, as Microsoft like to call it. Also, the ability to bring other people into the audio and video conference as ad hoc. So this is either by selecting them within the Skype for Business client or allowing a participant to come into the conference using a PSTN via the conference bridge. Also, as Microsoft plays on the capability to join a conference from anywhere. So with Skype for Business, you can now join a conference from all mobility elements, so Windows, iOS, and Android. Just on that point there, I have mentioned in this presentation the Skype for Business mobile client. That's not currently available in the marketplace as yet, but it is in the roadmap and it is certainly being tested at this moment. Second from last conferencing is the boardroom-based system. So this is what was known as the Lync Room systems. I don't know if that's going to be rebranded actually as part of the Skype for Business, but currently at the moment it's still called Lync Room systems. These are by third-party vendors like Crestron, Smart and Polycom, and these are the big going up to 80-inch dual screen conference units, which are pure Lync enabled or Skype for Business enabled. And then finally, on this particular point is the new Surface Hub. So this is a really interesting element. Actually, I was fortunate enough to be in Chicago a couple of weeks ago at the Microsoft Ignite, and it was the first time I've currently, or I should say, it's the first time I've seen a Surface Hub to have a go with, and I was really blown away by its technology and what it can do and what it's capable of. And as you're probably aware, the Surface Hub is a 4K screen, so everything was ultra clear and really nice to use. Finally, the last element, I put stars against it because it's not available yet, but I think it will be pretty soon. That's the ability for a Skype consumer to be able to join a Skype for Business conference straight off the backbone of the Skype consumer and Skype bridge Interop. That's not there yet, but I do see that as part of the overall goal of conferencing. So just touching on a couple of them points in this slide. This is the ability, as mentioned, to have a conference and see people as multi-party, see the whites of their eyes when they're in a conference. And it's not like it was previous in Lync conferences where you only saw the active speakers, their audio and video. With the Skype for Business, certainly you see everybody's video all at the same time. So you know who's listening, who's not listening, I guess. Also, as well, it allows for, on the left-hand side of this panel, for people to invite more people into a meeting ad hoc style, or allow people who's maybe joining via a mobile phone or a desk phone external to your company to join the meeting as well. Another point which I mentioned was disconnect from anywhere, as Microsoft states. So this is where you can use, we've got here a tablet or a Surface Pro, mobile devices where you can click on your Outlook calendar and join a conference. Equally, you can use the smartphone application from whichever marketplace you've downloaded from to actually see the conference, join the conference via the 3G, 4G connection, and also if in that conference, if there presenting a PowerPoint. You can certainly see that within the smart device as well. So pretty feature rich. Lastly, on this element of conferencing is the boardroom-based system. As you can see on the left-hand side of the picture is the current Lync room systems. They've been about for a while now. There is an upgrade coming with the LRS systems. At the moment, they're classed as LRS 1.0. With Skype for Business, these are now going to be classed as LRS 2.0. As you can see on that image, on the left-hand side, you've got the participants all joined via audio. On the right-hand screen, there's a presentation and desktop share of some elements of some graph taking place. On the right-hand image is the new Surface hub. It's not the same as, and this is one of the questions I got asked quite a bit actually at the conference, was what's the difference between the Lync room system and a Surface hub? They are totally different mindset of technology. Certainly, the Lync room system is a more of a conference presentation type scenario, whereas the Surface hub is more a collaborative brainstorming type technology, where yes, you can bring people in, you can have them on a screen, but it's more tailored towards a collaborative session where you might be interacting with Excel, PowerPoint, whatever it is, to do different bits and pieces. So moving on to our next agenda item, this is broadcast meetings. So what actually is a broadcast meeting? This is a new element which Microsoft's brought in as part of the Skype for Business. This is where traditionally you'd have one speaker to many participants, an active speaker, all the participants are listeners. You could also have this scaling up to 10,000 participants on a single conference or single broadcast. Microsoft states that they tested this functionality as part of the Olympics actually, and it worked pretty well. How it works is you've got to have a hybrid scenario between your on-premise Skype for Business server estate and also using your integration with Microsoft Azure as the background. So technically how it works is the media transcoding all gets done within the Azure cloud capability, and you've got a single stream from your on-premise Lync environment to the Azure platform, and the Azure platform does all the transcoding and pushing out to all the 10,000 participants. Also, as part of the broadcast meetings, you have presenter control. So this is almost like a kind of, you might have somebody in a box with a fully fledged speaker system where they can control the microphones, the audio, and the presentation and what's going on. So the broadcaster or the speaker, all they've got to concentrate on is doing the speaking and presenting, where you can have other people doing the full controls. Also, what we understand from the broadcast capabilities, it's got a feature where a participant could maybe start listening to the broadcast, and then for whatever reason they might have to drop off. They can rejoin at any point and pick up exactly where they left off within that broadcast, which is pretty good actually. Also, on the other foot, you might have somebody who's actually come into the broadcast late for whatever reason. They can actually go back to the start of the broadcast and start listening kind of behind the actual live stream until they catch up. Also, within the Microsoft Office stack, there is the capability and the technology behind the broadcast, where within a Outlook calendar appointment, if you selected a distribution list or a DL which has got over 250 participants, Outlook is clever enough to realise that not only it's a large meeting, but secondly it knows it's got the capability to be able to do it as a broadcast meeting, and you get a pop-up on the screen to tell you or ask you if you'd like to actually change the meeting from a normal Lync or Skype for Business meeting to a Skype for Business broadcast meeting, and utilise the Azure media backbone to actually do that transcoding. Also, as well, as part of the broadcast meetings, you've got the capabilities to allow PSTN calling into your Skype for Business conference bridge, but then break through to the actual broadcast as well. So not everybody has to be on a computer. It's using the same technology as you would with a normal Skype for Business meeting. The only difference that there is, though, is there'll be some numbers associated with your broadcast meeting, which will be outside of your on-premise Skype for Business server estate, but will be actually conference numbers within the kind of the Skype consumer Microsoft Azure platform. So you're not ringing into your on-premise Skype for Business bridge, you're actually ringing into the Microsoft Azure platform bridge instead to actually join that meeting. So again, that allows for that one speaker, one single media traffic coming from your on-premise Skype for Business environment into the Microsoft Azure platform. So moving on to the next feature from our detailed agenda, this one is using your desk phone as a Skype for Business audio device. So it's not as simple as it sounds. There is some integration required between your PBX and also your Skype for Business server estate. This is in the form of SIP traffic capabilities. So at a high level, what are we actually talking about here? So within the client, there is a new box under the options menu called call handling, where you can select your PBX telephone number. Now, if you were using your Skype for Business client, you can type in any telephone number external from your organization, and click to call. What will happen is the call will then bridge off the interoperability of your PBX and actually ring you back on your PBX desk phone. You pick up that desk phone at the side here, and you'll hear the ringing tone of the actual original destination telephone number you entered into the Skype for Business client. Then what's happening is the call is then bridging off the Skype for Business server estate, but using your PBX as the vehicle to do that telephony call. It's fairly straightforward once set up, but certainly there is a bit of work between your PBX vendor or your internal communications team and your Skype for Business UC team as well. What it allows for is kind of a single number reach and visibility. So when you do type in a destination number from your Skype for Business client, you might have a different number range within your Skype client and also on your PBX, but what would be presented to the external party who you've actually called would be your PBX telephone number. Having this callback feature allows for the Lync client to provide a kind of a joined up collaborative world between your Skype for Business state and also your PBX. Let's move forward now and just let's have a look at a diagram of how you create a call and how the functionality works together. At a point in time, there's no understanding on if there's a certain version number on any PBX. So if you've got a Cisco estate or a Mitel or Nortel, there's no particular version required as long as it is SIP capable. So in point one, as you can see on the diagram, you pick up you open up your Skype for Business client, type in a telephone number, your desktop phone will ring, you pick up the receiver and you can hear a ringing tone, and then when the other party picks up, you are bridged into that call. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to continue while you're on your desk phone, but you can also use the Skype for Business capability to do presentations if it's an internal call. So next up on our item agenda is replacing your PBX with a Skype for Business gateway and possible PBX interoperability in your migration phase. So there's no hard and fast rules on what is the best way to do this. It is simply horses for courses. Each customer is different. Each customer has different requirements. So as part of our professional services, when we talk with customers, it's finding out what they're trying to do and recommending the best practice approach. Now, if you've got a example, a Cisco call manager solution which can accept direct SIP, then there isn't a requirement for a gateway at that point. You can do a direct SIP trunk from your Skype for Business estate direct to the call manager. So that's one solution. Also, there's 3 other solutions which I'm going to go into detail with. It's probably worth noting, you might have seen these slides before in the first webinar done by Tom, not the Tom slides, but it's worth reiterating the capabilities of Skype for Business on replacing the PBX. So the first slide we've got is what we class as a downstream gateway deployment. So this is using a media gateway of some elements. So at the moment there's 3 providers of media gateways and a couple more smaller companies, but the 3 main ones are Sonos gateways, audio codes, and Acme packets, and each of them do the same capability, but certainly some are better than others at certain elements. And again, this as part of the professional services work, which it would require with modality or another provider, would understand this and certainly recommend the right gateway for your deployment. In terms of the downstream deployment, what we mean by this is the media gateways are sat downstream of the PBX. So a call would come in from the PSTN. That PSTN call would then hit the PBX first, and then using routing within the PBX capability, that would either send the call to the legacy PBX phone, or it would send the call to the media gateways, where the media gateways would transcode that information, send it on to the Skype for Business server, and then on to the end Skype for Business client and user. Next up in our diagram is what is my preferred option on 9 out of 10 deployments. This is classed as an upstream gateway deployment. So this is where the media gateways are sat right next to your PSTN, and that's the first hardware that the call would hit on an inbound telephony call from PSTN. So the call would come in, hit the gateways. The gateway then has the choice then, using smart routing within the logic of the gateways. If the call is a number associated with the PBX, it would send it onto the PBX. And if it is a Skype for Business user, it would send it on to Skype for Business. Equally, you can then give the full interoperability between your new environment of Skype for Business and your old legacy PBX by using the media gateways as the transcoding between both environments. So, for example, if a Skype for Business user was trying to call a legacy PBX phone, if they send the call to the media gateway would understand that SIP message and then bounce it onto the PBX. So it's kind of like the gatekeeper in the middle. And as I say, this is the preferred deployment angle that myself and equally modality like to do. And finally, in these diagrams is a different approach. This is to get rid of PBX altogether, or this is when you're fully migrated, you might want to get rid of your PBX for whatever reason you've got. But this is where you've got a PSTN connection, you've got media gateways or a number of media gateways, and this has just got a SIP trunk direct to the Skype for Business server estate, which in turn sends calls onto the Skype for Business client. This is your utopia. This is where you should be trying to get to as an organisation. What we find is the interop between the Skype for Business server estate and PBX absolutely works fine, but from experience it causes end user problems sometimes, especially if they've got old telephones on the desk still and they're not really sure on what to pick up and where the call's going to present into. So as soon as you can fully migrate and get your calls coming direct from the media gateway with no PBX, that is the right solution, the right way to go. So finally, let's move on to our final detailed agenda point. This one's called the video interop service. So video interop is a new technology which is part of the Skype for Business deployment. Video interop allows you to integrate your third-party video conferencing systems. So, for example, your Cisco telepresence, teleconferencing endpoints, or Tamberg endpoints natively into the Skype for Business server estate, therefore not needing the requirement for a Cisco AV conferencing bridge. It's all done utilising the actual Skype for Business server. On the next bullet point, where does it fit in the Skype for Business ecosystem? So at this moment, there is already parties out there who make this sort of video interop service bridge for the likes of Acano. They do a very good job of this sort of capability. What Microsoft's trying to do here is plug the gap between what is quite an expensive solution in terms of Acano and the likes of Polycom, to have it all in-house and no extra cost to the end customer. It's probably worth mentioning at this point, though, there is limitations of this still today, and that is it is only certified for certain Cisco teleconferencing solutions at this moment, so it's probably worth reading up on the Microsoft website for video interop to see if your solution is one which is certified to work. And the final point on this is, do you really need one? Well, if you've got a Cisco telepresence suite and you want to allow for your end users to sit at their desk on their Skype for Business client and actually ring into a Cisco endpoint, conferencing endpoint, or be able the opposite way around a Cisco conferencing to bring somebody into that video call, yes, you absolutely will need a video interop service, or you would have to pay for the third-party bridges from the likes of Cisco, Acano, and Polycom. On this next slide, we'll have a look at a diagram of the typical setup of a video interop service and how it actually works alongside your existing Cisco endpoints and also your Skype for Business topology. As you can see on this diagram, we've got a number of servers and a number of endpoints, both on the Skype for Business side and also on the Cisco endpoint side as well. So just looking from left to right, so we've got the conferencing endpoint of the Cisco VTC. We've also got the Cisco UC Manager, which is the kind of the bridge which does the signaling. This interacts then going over to the right to the video interop server, which in turn communicates via SIP to the Skype for Business front end. As you can see around the Skype for Business front end, you can join not only from the mobile client, but a client desktop and also the Lync room system or Skype for Business room system, to rename it. All of these can do the native interoperability back to the Cisco endpoint. As you can see, the red arrow, the signaling for the setup goes via the UC Manager, but the media goes direct between your video interop server and the Cisco endpoint as well. So that concludes the detailed agenda for this webinar. But just before we leave, I'd like to just do a quick summary and give you some key takeaways for your Skype for Business deployment and the path you choose. So firstly, I want to just mention around conferences. So for companies out there which have got a Cisco WebEx estate and who's paying money for Cisco WebEx minutes, there's absolutely no need anymore if you've got a Skype for Business deployment or a Lync 2013 that as a company you are required to spend money on WebEx. The Skype for Business conferencing bridge, in my opinion, is far more superior than the WebEx. It gives you more collaborative working between your end users and actually costs you £0. So my recommendation would be to revisit your WebEx costs and see if Skype for Business is a solution which you should be looking at a little bit more in detail. Moving on to endpoints. So if you're deploying conferencing and enterprise voice as part of Skype for Business, certainly look at the differences between the endpoints available, which are certified for Skype for Business. There is differences between headsets, and they do range from budget bottom of the range, £25 per device, right up to £300 per device. One thing of recommendation is certainly do a user adoption piece on headsets, because not one headset fits all user types. So certainly do some analysis on that and make sure that the headset you get for the user is the right headset for their requirement. What we found is a user hasn't got a particular headset which is right for their need, won't adapt to Skype for Business or Lync 2013, and will certainly go against it. So certainly do your homework in there and ensure you've got the right devices. Other areas to consider: there is qualified endpoints. Microsoft's got a website now full of endpoints which are available for Skype for Business, and also the predecessor Lync 2013, and all of them, as far as I'm aware, and I understand that all 2013 endpoints are going to be naturally uplifted to the Skype for Business qualification as well in time. There is a difference between IP phones and USB headsets, and again, dependent on the end user, this doesn't mean that if you're taking away their PBX phone to give them enterprise voice with Skype for Business, then they're going to adapt to a USB headset straight away. So certainly, like I say, speak to your end user and ensure you've got the right device. Bluetooth versus DECT. Now, this is a good point. So Bluetooth is getting much better in terms of its capability, but equally DECT is as well now. DECT I'm certainly using a DECT headset now, which can go a range of 200 meters away from the base station and be a crystal clear, high definition audio on Skype for Business. So there is great movement in the headset market between Bluetooth and DECT. And again, there isn't one fit which you should pass out to all users. Certainly, saturating an open plan office with a Bluetooth devices probably isn't the best way to go. Also, speak to your vendors. There's a number of vendors out there now with the likes of Jabra, Plantronics, Sennheiser, and a couple of new ones coming to market as we speak as well, who's delivering qualified headsets. Most of these vendors will give you some test headsets to try and to trial, and usually they bring along a kit bag for you to have a look and talk through your requirements. And certainly look for the right device, what you require. Just moving on to end user training. So I touched on this a little bit before. So from experience, if you're deploying an enterprise voice solution or asking your end users to do full conferencing capabilities, and you provide no training whatsoever to them users, they won't embrace it, and they'll go against the grain in some respects and almost cause more problems than what you initially have in maybe an old solution or something. So certainly look at user adoption, look at what your users are. Not all users are the same as well, so some people pick things up quicker than other people. So take time with the user and ensure that training you deliver and the support that you deliver to them users is absolutely great. And then if you get that right, then you're 3/4 way there to having a fully fledged solution for Skype for Business. As mentioned in the bottom point, good support is different between failure, okay, and great. If you've got the option to have a support contract with a third party, certainly look at that. That's worth its weight in gold, for not only for your IT department to be able to back off to a third party who specialise in this, but also it gives breathing space for them to actually go and see the end user who might be having that particular problem and help them through solutions. And that's it. So thank you all for listening to this webinar. I hope we haven't overrun by too much. I don't think so. I think I'm just about on time. So I'm going to now open the floor up to any questions, and hopefully we'll get some questions and some answers going. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks very much for that. We have had some questions come through. There is a question about the interoperability between Cisco, Java, etc. Would you like to answer that one, Ian?
Yes.
Is there any plans from Microsoft?
Certainly, yes. So at present time, there isn't no interoperability with the the Cisco elements. Jabber uses a technology called XMPP, but the problem with Jabber is because there's certain versions of Jabber, not all of them can interop direct with Skype for Business. So at this moment, I'm aware that people have attempted it, but I don't know of anybody who's actually achieved that at this moment.
Okay. We have another question. This particular one, the client has Office 365 in and is using Lync / Skype for Business, of course, from the E4 365 license. Is it possible to just extend that for enterprise voice and conferencing, and if so, how complicated?
Yeah, good question. So in 365, so in the cloud, there's at this very moment there's no capability for enterprise voice at all. It's in the roadmap for Microsoft. The last I heard, they were saying it's going to be arriving in the US and certainly the UK and a couple of other countries by start of next year. There's no other information around that. I haven't certainly heard anybody testing it actively, so I don't know how far they are along the roadmap with it. So at the moment, you've got two options. One is to have a Skype for Business on-premise solution or some type of hybrid solution, but people who require enterprise voice has to be homed within the on-premise element of your deployment.
Okay, and of course, just to add to that as well is if you were looking to actually have this as a cloud type solution, because obviously working with the attraction of a cloud type based solution is that you take some of the management and the stresses away from your own deployment. There is a way of looking at it as a UC as a service type of approach to getting a vendor to take it on as a managed service in a private cloud or something along those lines.
Yeah, so that's something Modality can do, and certainly we've done with other customers where we build a Skype for Business environment in a private cloud or in a data center. We manage right from the start of that deployment right through to the supportability, and they have dedicated MPLS links back into the customer, and that server estate, that topology of Skype for Business is dedicated just to that one customer, so it is achievable.
Excellent.
Equally, just on that point as well, I should mention, you can do enterprise voice with that as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Another question is there any persistent chat capability in Skype for Business?
There is. It's exactly the same as the Lync 2013 actually. So there's no change at all within persistent chat. Equally, still just to extend that question a little bit further, it's still only on premise. You cannot use persistent chat with federated customers or anything like that. It's still the same as what it was with 2013.
Okay. Another question here, which might be one I can answer a little bit as well. Why are customers or why are organizations moving towards more with Skype for Business? I'm assuming that is why are they considering moving with conferencing and enterprise voice?
Yeah, okay, so it's another good question. So there's two reasons. We'll tackle it separately. So we'll look at the conferencing first. So there's a lot of customers who historically have bought minutes from the likes of Intercall and other conferencing partners where that costs them a lot of money. And what they've found is 75% of all the conference they do are usually internal, but they cost the company money to actually have them internal calls, where now they're seeing that within the Skype for Business, and certainly it was there in Lync 2013, that each of them conferences are readily capable within the internal Skype for Business estate and cost no money. So a lot of people are now kind of looking at their bottom line and certainly saying, do we actually need to spend all this money on conferencing minutes? The other element to that question is the enterprise voice. Why are customers going down the Skype for Business enterprise voice route? This is quite a simple one, really. That is, they usually find that their PBX is either coming out of support with the vendor they've got it with, or it's becoming end of life for whatever reason. There's a problem with it. They're finding it hard to get hardware replacement for it, so they have to go into the grey market and buy it from reconditioned areas, and usually the maintenance and supportability alone is far greater than what it would be to actually deploy a Skype for Business and enterprise voice feature. So yeah, a lot of people are jumping over.
Yeah, I think just to add to that point, if we go back to the beginning of this session when we covered some of the points there as to what are driving. I think every customer has their own reasons for looking at extending, whether that is the end of life of technology, whether it's a refresh, whether it's to improve the collaboration. We see that a lot in multi-geographic location organizations where they're looking to actually bring teams together better. So there are many different reasons that are driving that change, and you find that sometimes that it's a step change rather than a full blast change all at once. So in a lot of our clients, we see it's done over a number of years, and it's a gradual migration. There are a few brave souls that do it as a complete change, but that is such a disruptive influence to the business that often many will go gradual, which means that they end up with environments which you have to integrate various technologies together. So that's something we're very used to managing here. So I think that looks like that's the end of the questions at the moment. I've got a couple more slides. This isn't supposed to be a hard sell. This is very much supposed to be informative, so I'm not going to dwell on these, but it would be wrong of me not just to give you a little bit of background as to who Modality are. I'm hoping that most of you will already know who Modality are to some extent, hence why you've joined the session today. But we are very experienced in the whole UC world. We only focus on Microsoft UC technologies. We understand that the sort of broader environment that it sits into, because with UC, it's because it is so far-reaching within the organization, it touches on so many other different technology aspects within the environment that you're in. Plus the fact it also affects very much the business in general and the users, because it is a marked change in the way that they work. So we have quite a wide understanding of that, and because of that, we are an elite partner for Skype for Business launch. So please, if you've got any questions on that, please let us know. Just a little bit of a background as to all the different services that we can offer. I'm not going to dwell on this too much. I'm sure that any of you can contact us if need be. And before I leave, just to let you know that we have one last session coming up in this particular series of webinars, which takes place in a month's time, just under, where we'll be looking at extending the value of UC. So we're looking at development type opportunities, applications that can go on top of your UC investment to try and extend greater value and leverage what you've got in place. That, as I say, is a very just brief. I'm not going to sell too much on this. There haven't been any more questions come in since. So on that note, it only remains for me to say thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's been useful. If you have any further questions, you can contact us on the details shown on the screen at the moment. And if you want us to come and look at anything for you, or just have a general brainstorm so you can get to see what the value is for your organization in terms of moving beyond IM and presence, please let us know. Again, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you on the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.